The Bling Ring is a movie that depicts the true story of fame-obsessed high schoolers that decided to rob celebrities in the Calabasas area in order to attain the wealth and status of these idols. Providing a perspective into the protagonist's journey, Sofia Coppola's production techniques allow the viewer to gain access into this crime-filled drama while also sticking to the cinematic and social cues of the early 2000s. The scene we utilized shows a group walking into a party, and we are shown the "you only live once" motto that these teenagers have and are introduced to their drinking and drug use frenzy.
The cinematographer of the film, Christopher Blauvelt, said that the cinematography was heavily influenced by the use of camera phones, since that is what most teenagers were using during that time to document their every move. There is also a parallel between drugs and theft that occurs during this scene. Every time we see a close-up of someone doing cocaine, it is echoed by one of them stealing another purse, pair of shoes, sunglasses, etc. This could be a reflection of how the rush from stealing and breaking the rules is just as addictive as doing a line of cocaine. Because of the way this portion of the film is filmed, we associate the cocaine with the stealing. Additionally, the use of mirrors is prevalent throughout the scene. We see each character's reflection in the mirrors as they do line after line of cocaine. They have to look at themselves in the mirror and face the choices they are making. Color pop is another interesting element that I noticed throughout the film. Black and white backgrounds are used to add contrast to all of the designer bags, shoes, and clothing that are being stolen. In addition, the clubbing scene is amplified with flashing colorful lights on the characters' faces against a black background. Slow motion is used to let the audience know that the kids are getting more and more drunk as time goes on. The flashing lights make the audience feel distorted as the scene switches from drugs to stealing to clubbing and back again. This is effective because it makes the viewers feel just as distorted and confused as the characters in the film. Overall, I think The Bling Ring uses a lot of contrast and close-up shots to emphasize the emotions of each character as they spiral out of control.
Sofia Coppola and main editor Sarah Flack establish a scene of Bling Ring's fast-paced, extreme lifestyle through the use of a variety of editing techniques. Known for emphasizing style over substance, Coppola's film in this case offers insight into the lives of millennials through the use of specific shot transitions that highlight important moments of the characters' lives. While both keeping distance and incorporating a variety of close-ups, the montage of editing techniques in the film allows the viewer to gauge a real-life sense of the hectic, unusual lifestyle these teenagers adopted. Characterized by a postmodern style of editing, The Bling Ring conveys many stylistic approaches of modern film in order to accurately depict the generation it speaks for. Mainly through fast-paced editing, Coppola emphasizes the subconscious and erratic tendencies of these teenagers through snapshots of substance abuse, robberies, and actual photos posted onto social media. Inspired by real events, the film adopts a documentary approach to filming, allowing the viewer to immerse themselves in a world where privilege defines everything. Coppola credited her editing techniques as a way of accurately defining the life of Hollywood's rich and famous, and to those who aspire to it at a young age. Wanting to visually tell the story, no shot lists were used in producing this film, which proved very useful when shooting The Bling Ring in terms of the stylistic methods used to fully communicate the feeling of the scene. Focusing less on visual aesthetic and more on realistic depictions, this film visually captivates its audience, embracing the sick reality of the obsession behind the rich and famous. In the classic scene of the robbery of Adriana Patridge's home, the camera never enters the home, but rather stays at a distance from the outside until the end of the robbery. Anxious as siren alarms approach, the viewer is taken into the home where expressions and mood are more apparent through cheat cuts. Through the use of cross-cutting and a montage of cut-ins, quick glimpses into the backstories of these teenagers allow the audience to come to their own interpretations behind their actions. Eye-level, interview-type clips imply a sense of interpersonal interaction, while distant shots cross-cut within were designated to create an alternate vantage scope into the scene. Similarly mocking a TV show, the editing behind this film was intended to captivate the digital generation in a way where they could relate. Hence the fast-paced, scattered timeline that intercuts within the scene allows us to fully gain a scope of the plot as the film continues, while also staying engaged throughout.
Mise-en-scène is defined as everything that is within the frame. Throughout the movie, we are given a glimpse into the lives of these teenagers and the style that was around during this time. The props and the elements that are being used in these scenes amplify the lifestyle that these teenagers desire. The expensive bags, shoes, jewelry, and clothing that litters these celebrities' homes shows the viewer of an image of attainable wealth. As the movie goes on, we see the teenagers begin to wear these expensive items, giving them a newfound image of status. The dominant mood throughout the bling ring has been wealth and desire and attainment of it. Typecasting has been a critical part of this movie, as the movie is based on a true story. We see the use of real-life celebrities and news footage to depict the frustration and realism that surrounds this film. Specifically, cocaine, a drug that is more expensive and harder to attain, reminds the viewer of the wealth that these characters have found themselves. From the wealthy Los Angeles suburb to stealing from famous people's properties, we see that these characters have been somewhat neglected by their parents and are given a newfound sense of freedom. The use of lighting within their own family homes are bright, light, and more natural. When the characters are all together, the lighting gets dimmer. This could be because oftentimes they are hanging out during the evening, but also having to do with the fact that they are hiding from the activities they are doing at night. We see technicolored lights and fast movements, which tell us that there's a party going on. We are also shown racks of shoes and jewelry within people's homes that are illuminated with artificial light. This parallels to an artificial light that these teenagers are trying to create for themselves. The clothing that these characters are wearing is also very telling of the time. We see layered clothing, bright colors, and chunky jewelry. These teenagers are obsessed with fashion. They have fashion icons who they end up stealing from in order to feel closer to them. They are clearly trying to recreate the lives of celebrities, and they have been robbing and stealing parts of their lives and taking them as their own.
Throughout the film The Bling Ring, the main element of sound in the film is the soundtrack. The soundtrack helps to establish the scene of the film, as majority of the songs relate to partying or money. Many of the songs on the soundtrack were released in between the real-life Bling Ring crimes and when the movie was released. The soundtrack features popular artists of the early 2000s, including MIA, Kanye West, and Deadmau5. Director Sofia Coppola often works with music supervisor Brian Retzel for many of her films. Retzel explains the strategy behind the diverse soundtrack and the balance between scores and popular music. The Bling Ring uses ambient noise for the majority of their scenes. This includes adding in the noises of people snorting cocaine during club scenes. There is some edited diegetic noise, including the clicking of a computer mouse or keyboard during scenes where the characters are on social media. In some of the scenes where it appears as a photo being taken, a camera flash noise is edited in as well. In addition to the traditional dialogue of the film, these noises allow the audience to immerse themselves in the culture that was the early 2000s with the beginning of social media and camera phones. While most of the ambient noise throughout the film is logical and fits with the scene, club scenes tend to differ. In the early party and club scenes in the film, when the characters are engaging in dialogue, you can clearly hear and understand everything they are saying. If the ambient sound was accurate to how it is in real life, then the characters would have difficulty hearing each other or would have to raise their voices, neither of which occur. The majority of the sound in the film is diegetic, except for the soundtrack and score, which is non-diegetic and is overlaid onto the film to have the audience feel the emotions and actions occurring throughout the film. The Bling Ring's dialogue style is different from other films. The dialogue is so exaggerated and dramatic that it adds to the snobbiness of the teens in the movie. The Bling Ring is known for the lines you could only hear in LA, such as Leslie Mann's character telling her daughters, "Girls, time for your Adderall," and Emma Watson's character saying, "I want to rob." The style of the dialogue helps contribute to the overall style of the film.